Hello everybody, this is Ishan, and today I'm going to show you how to make some pizza dough. If you want to make this pizza dough at your house, all you're going to need is all-purpose flour, sugar, salt, basil and 2 large cloves of garlic, dried basil leaves, 3/4 of a cup of water, extra virgin olive oil, 1 packet of fast-rising yeast. If you want to use fresh yeast, then you can use about 1/4 of an ounce. Okay, so for the first step of our process, we're gonna bloom the yeast. We want the yeast basically to spread, and if the yeast doesn't spread well enough, then your dough won't rise. So the way you bloom your yeast is you take warm water. It's crucial that it's warm because if it's not warm, then if the water is too cold, then the yeast just won't grow. And if the water is too hot, then the yeast will die. So what you want to do is you want to make it around 100 degrees, or you should put your finger in it, it should just feel slightly warm. And so what you're going to want to do is open your sugar, and you're going to want 1.5 teaspoons of your sugar. It's okay if it's slightly less or slightly more. This is just for the yeast to feed on, this is just so that the yeast can feed on the sugar and grow faster. That one was a little bit more than 1 teaspoon, so just add a little bit more. Okay. So after this, you grab a pair of scissors and carefully cut open the fast-rising instant yeast. You don't want to spill. Yeah, okay, there we go. Just gonna pour all of that in. Now, you want to stir, oh, it looks like I got a little piece of my plastic in there. Not to worry, that'll come out on its own. Just want to stir this so that you don't see too many big chunks of yeast. Okay, so now that our yeast is starting to bloom off on the side, we can start measuring our dry ingredients. So to make the dough, you're going to want around 2 to 2 1/3 cup of flour. I would recommend that first do 2 cups and save the extra 1/3 cup in case your dough is too sticky after you put in the stand mixer. And yes, I am using the stand mixer. However, if you want to, you can knead it on something like this or even just on your island surface. So I'm using a simple 1 cup measure. That's 1 cup. And a bit more than 2. And there's 2 cups. So, and also, you might have noticed that I put the sugar away. It's imperative that you do work tidy because pizza dough making can get very messy very quickly. So I'm just going to grab my salt. You want to use around 1.5 to 3/4, not 1.5, my bad, 1/2 to 3/4 teaspoon of salt to your taste. The spoon that I'm using is around 1/2 teaspoon, so I'm going to put this in just a little bit more to get to that 3/4. Then you are going to add your basil in. This is to taste again. You can use anywhere from 1/8 to 1/4, or you can just estimate. This pizza dough recipe has a flavor, which is the main reason that I like to use this one, because most pizza doughs can be very bland and boring. So now, right now, I'm going to use a mortar and pestle to just make my garlic more paste-like. Okay, I'm just about finished with the garlic, so let's add this in. It may be a bit chunky, but that's okay, because it's all going to get kneaded and it's all going to separate in the end anyway. Just add this in. And after you add the garlic in, you add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. This will give it, this will help bind it, and it'll give it a little bit more of a flavor. So there's 1 tablespoon and 2 tablespoons. And if you want to, which I like to do, you can add just a splash more. So really, it's more like 2 1/4 tablespoons. And after this is done, just set this on the side, and one thing that's important is that you make sure that you stir everything around. Now, put this back on our stand mixer. So now, once we're ready, you can get your yeast mixture and put that in. Also make sure that you lock your machine and keep it on the lowest setting. If you keep it too high, it won't mix. Okay, so now my yeast is fully bloomed. I don't know if you can see from the camera. I'll bring it a bit closer. But as you can see in mine, there's an entire layer of that foam. So let's bring our stand mixer a bit closer. We don't want to have any spills or anything. And so as you're going to add this in, stir it up once again. And just add this in slow quantities, because you don't want to end up with a dough that's too sticky. Okay, so our dough is just about done. So you want your dough to just be slightly sticky, because you're gonna have to knead this again. So let's lift this. As you can see, it sticks just slightly, but does not stay on your fingers that much. So I've got just about everything. So move this out of the way. So now what you want to do is you want to take some flour on your hands, rub it, put a little bit on your board as well, and now you just want to knead this. So the way to properly knead is it's not like pushing it out, not like slapping it or something. What you want to do is you want to take this, you want to pull it, here, push. So basically, you want to fold it onto itself. Just to store this, what you're going to want to do is first, let's make our pizza ball. So first, what you want to do is take the bottom side, and then, my bad, not the bottom side, take the side that you were currently kneading, and make a bit circular, take all the bad parts, and tuck them underneath, kind of like just stuffing everything under your bed when your parents think you're cleaning. Anyway, and then, so to get it more ball shaped, what you do is, a bit more there. So you take your pinkies, you hold your hands like this, take your pinkies and slide it under, and I'll just keep on going like this, and I'll become, stick them in the bottom, and just, you do this, and so long as you're doing it consistently and evenly, then it should become nice and circular and smooth. So now that we have our dough all nice and circular, all we can do is, this is just a little trick that I've learned. You can, if you have an Instapot at your house, you can take out the Instapot bowl and just grease it with a little bit of oil or flour, either one, and then put this in. Or if you don't have an Instapot, what you can do is you can simply go to your oven. Mine's over there, you probably can't see it in the camera. And yours might have a setting called proof. If you don't have that either, just set it in a warm spot with a covered lid. So I'm going to take a little bit of oil to grease mine. Not much, just that much. So on your hands and start greasing the bowl. After your bowl is greased, you don't need to use too much of this because this pizza dough already isn't very sticky. So we'll set this in, and this is important. Now what you want to do is, if you leave the pizza dough top uncovered, then you might end up having your pizza dough have a skin on the top. So you're going to want to take just a little bit of oil, again, rub it on your hand and just pat the top so that it doesn't have any of the skin. After that's done, you can take your Instapot and you can plug it in and put it on the yogurt setting. The yogurt already needs a warm place to ferment, kind of like the same way that pizza dough does. And then set it on yogurt. If you use an Instapot, it'll probably take only around an hour for it to proof. So it's been a while, and we've been letting the dough sit in the Instapot. And so what you have to do is, after it's done in the Instapot, you want to take it out again and knead it one more time. I've already done that off camera. The reason you want to do this is because whenever the yeast grows inside, it grows very like ununiform, and you just want to do this to make sure that the yeast is distributed everywhere once again. Take some flour. After you rise the dough, sometimes it does become a bit or sometimes a lot stickier. So you might want to get your flour ready just in case. And so as you're doing this, you just want to be very careful because this dough should be nice and soft. The way you know it should be done is here. Let me come over to the camera and show you. If I was to press it down, it should spring right back up. That's how you know your dough is about done. So once you get to that stage, you make sure that you have a nice circle. This is more like for an aesthetic thing, but also I just think it helps it rise more uniform. And so now this part's important. You want to take a slightly damp washcloth. What you want to do is you want to let this rise one more time. And I recommend that you do this anywhere before an hour that you decide to eat. So you would just cover it like so and just let it sit there. The reason you do this is because you just want to, this will just let the dough rise one final time. And now I'm going to give you some cooking instructions for how to cook the dough. So this dough makes about 2 small pizzas. Small, I would say, they're relatively small pizzas. So I would say to make this recipe depending on how much pizza you want. You can double the recipe, you can half it if you only want 1 pizza. But so what I would say to do is that after you let it rise, it's going to rise again, but this time after it's done rising, you do not want to knead it again. This time after it's done rising, you should cut it in half, and then carefully, without trying to knock out too much air, you should transfer it to whatever you're going to spread your pizza on. And so you can use a rolling pin to spread your pizza, but if you end up doing that, it's a lot quicker, but the result will be a thin crust pizza that doesn't puff up too much. If you want to get like the ideal, like you know how there's pizza bubbles and everything, the way that you would do that is that you'd use your fingertips to spread it out. And then after that's done, use your fingertips, that'll push more air in. And after that's done, what I would recommend you do is you can pre-bake your pizza. All you have to do is just the crust, no sauce, no cheese, no toppings. Just put your crust in, and for around 5 minutes. All that should help it do is because whenever you cook it right off the bat, the sauce and cheese weigh down the pizza. So if you bake it like this, it becomes a little bit more, it puffs up a bit more, and you get a bit more of a crunchy crust instead of a soggy one. So you should bake this pizza at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for around 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how crispy you want your pizza. And you can vary the time according to you, but be sure to use the temperature somewhere in between 400 to 425, depending on your oven. Okay, so thank you for trying out my pizza recipe. Listening to my pizza recipe. I hope you try this out at home. And yeah, pizza making can be pretty fun.